Okay, so if you watched part 1 of our Focus on the Details episode, you know we have gotten as far as the iron remover on this to get this focus ready for our creative project that we're going to show you in a couple of episodes. I have my medium grade clay bar. This one happens to be an Adams. I've gotten it kind of kneaded out and pliable. This is super unnecessary, but the kit that I originally bought this with has this little, like, I don't even remember what they call it, VISCO-CLAY, I think. It's got these little nubbins in it where you can knead your clay out and then you can push it into the nubbins, and then you've got this little, like, textured situation. I actually have found myself liking this, so I use it sometimes, especially on paint that hasn't been like real taken care of because it hasn't been on this. We gave this a quick wipe down just to make sure we didn't have a bunch of dust on it. There's plenty of dedicated clay bar lubricants out there. You don't want to go in dry on this one, I promise you that. I just have like maybe a ½ ounce of Optimum No Rinse or O&R. We showed you that one in the last videos, just in regular water. If this were like a higher end project, I'd probably use distilled water, but it's fine. So you're gonna want to lubricate your clay bar and the panel that you're doing. Generally speaking, you don't have to spend 3 hours clay barring a vehicle. If this is taking you more than 10 or 15 minutes, like you're probably going at it a little too hard. It is pretty much impossible to not do this without introducing some marring into the paint, which on not very well taken care of 100,000 mile white paint's not gonna be that big of a deal. But just keep that in mind. You know, clay barring is not part of a typical cleaning process. That you're not going to bust your clay bar out every Sunday whenever you wash your vehicle. This is leading up to something a little more intensive, like a paint correction. I usually just kind of like go front to back or whatever's comfortable for the panel. You don't want to use a ton of pressure. If you get in really close, you can hear it dragging across that embedded contamination. Normally, I would do this before an iron remover because iron remover is expensive, but we wanted to show you guys the iron remover last night, so we did it in reverse. Let's see, we've only done a couple of panels, and you know, bear in mind we did the iron remover first. But I mean, you can see there's already quite a few streaks. You can see some little bits of iron and some other pieces of God knows what, some adventures that didn't want to wash out of the car. You know, one of the things that really stands out when after you've clay barred the surface is how smooth it is. Oh, and once you kind of get it gross, it probably wouldn't hurt anything to re-knead it a few times, you know, just so you're getting it, get the surface of your clay bar back, you know, nice and clean like this. Honestly, I probably could, this was a brand new one, I probably could have broken it into like thirds and saved it, but I can get a few uses out of this. All right, we're finished clay barring the vehicle. I think we kneaded it a total of about 3 times, and this is about what it looked like each time. It's not really gonna do any good to show it on camera right now, but you can definitely feel the difference. The surface is way smoother than it was. I mean, it's very glassy and buttery to the touch. So that'll make sure that what we have planned for it's gonna stick really, really good, and it will also make sure that the polishing process is a little bit smoother and we're not beating our polishing pads up with globules of iron and tar and stuff, which will definitely help make them deteriorate a little faster. All right, so I didn't properly clean my favorite one-step pad the last time that I used it. This is the Adams one-step pad down here. I really like it a lot for something I'm only gonna hit with a polisher once. You guys have some hilarious like bomb disarming contraption. And then my trusty advisor here at the Department of Correction, this is my good friend Jackson Polish. We've been through a lot together. So we wring the pad out, and now it's still wet. It's still wet, not quite ready to use. We're gonna throw it back on the polisher while it's still fairly damp. And since it's still gotta have a little weight to it, I'm not gonna start it out at a 6. But we're gonna go visit our good friend Jackson Polish down here at about a 1. Shake off that excess. And she's pretty much ready to use. All right, since this is a microfiber pad, I'm gonna take it a step further, 2 steps further actually, and I'm gonna let it run for a second. I got my pad conditioning brush. as many of y'all out there have these hilarious bomb disarming contraptions, I will tell you, I've been cleaning my polishing pads this way for the better part of a decade, and I've never gotten better results. My pads last a long time. I do a lot of my paint correcting outside, actually, which I know is a cardinal sin, but you gotta work with what you have to work with sometimes. But she is ready to go. Okay, I've got my GRIOT'S G21 long throw polisher. This is probably a bit much for the weekend warrior because it's so long throw, but I really like it. It's one of my 4 or 5 from GRIOT'S. I've got my Adams one-step pad, which is a wool microfiber blend, and I've got GRIOT'S fast correcting cream. This is their most aggressive out of the Boss line of floor products. Kind of give it one of those, and then since this bar is so small, we're going to do half the hood at one time.
Go.
All right, after one pass, you don't necessarily need to like take this thing off and totally rewash it again, but it wouldn't be a bad idea. You can hit it with a spritz of this really quick. Come over here to your good friend Jackson Polish, dial back the speed, taking the excess off, run a brush through it. Kind of what you saw kind of shoot off in a plume was just a little bit of spent clear coat, you know, a little bit of used up polish, and now, I mean, pretty much we're good to start again. Now would be the time where we would wipe the polish off and show you how transformed the panel is, but honestly it's white paint. You're not going to really be able to see it very well over camera, you know, but if they had Philo-Vision via YouTube, you would definitely be able to tell this is a whole different situation, and it looks a lot glossier and more liquidy in person than it did when we started on it. One of the things I really like about GRIOT'S fast correcting cream, which is kind of like my go-to compound, is that it wipes off really nicely and doesn't dust a whole lot. I kind of grew up on Meguiar's 105 like a lot of you all have, and it is like trying to rub like all right. And make sure you always mask off your body lines, like I didn't do. All right, well, here's a little glimpse of the light's hitting it just right enough that you can see, you know, the car washes and the miles that have taken its toll. I mean, we're not looking for showroom perfection on this. Really, we're just looking for a stickier surface, but polishing is gonna be a part of that. So let's see what it looks like. cool things about the polish that I'm using is it's a diminishing polish, which means the little, the microscopic abrasives get a little bit smaller as you're polishing, so it kind of turns into its own finishing polish. So you saw me going in a grid. Whenever I did the back and forth passes, I used quite a bit more pressure than when I used the front and back to kind of work with the concept of a one-step polish, where I kind of did, if you want to call it that, a compound and a polish at the same time. So let's wipe it off and let's see how it looks. I mean, definitely still a few micro scratches in there. This is not a one and done situation, but like for our purposes it is. It doesn't need to be a lick better than that. Honestly, that's not bad for, you know, what, 25-30 seconds of work. Join us for part 3 next time as we take on the interior.